Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in a cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to RAP Paranormal and Friends with your hosts,
Kim Purvis
and Allison Robinson. Make sure to check us out on our Facebook pages, RAP Paranormal and Friends and RAP Paranormal Busters, for up-to-date show information and events. Hey everyone, welcome to RAP Paranormal and Friends. I have a special guest for you, Jill Carr, author of Aastrolations, a unique astrological guide for you and all your relationships. Now, a little bit of background on Jill is she began seriously studying astrology as an art student, where she came across the modern textbook of astrology in a city bookshop. Since then, she has studied and worked in various locations within the UK, refining her research into all matters astrological, including Chinese astrology, which she finds endlessly fascinating. Jill has degrees in surface pattern design, business studies, and philosophy and aesthetics. She is now settled down in the wonderful, inspiring county of Cornwall, surrounded by the natural beauty of this ancient place. So please welcome Jill to the show. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Alison.
Yes, so let's kind of dive into some of these questions here. How did you become interested in astrology?
Well, as a teenager, you're always looking for something different in life, aren't you? You're sort of exploring things. I've always been interested in what's mysterious in life, I think, and so I was drawn to astrology, just as many people as teenagers are, looking at the stars in magazines or papers. Thought, this looks great. I must find out more about that. And I thought there's got to be something a bit more than just saying this is going to happen to you today, Libra, or whatever. So I just started looking into it more and more, finding out what I could. Of course, we didn't have the internet in those days, so I was off to the library. So I found out as much as I could. It really grabbed my almost like a magical connection to my inner being. I thought, this is just something different. It really appealed to me. So as you said, as it said in my intro, I did buy this astrological textbook when I was 18, and and then I just started. And it was quite difficult to read, but I thought, right, I'm sticking in here. And I've just been interested in studying astrology for all my life. Obviously, normal career interferes, family, etc. But it's always been there for me, and I've always had a huge interest, and everybody knows me knows that. So this is why, yeah.
Now, for some of our
So I thought I'd write a book. Sorry.
That's okay. So, for some of our listeners that may not know what astrology is, can you kind of give a description of what astrology is?
How to say it simply? I mean, I'm not saying when I say simply, I mean easily, easy to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I could do textbook explanations, the study of the movements of the constellations, which we all know what the constellations
Mm-hmm.
are, the night sky,
Mm-hmm.
how these, in the celestial sphere, how these influence our lives and characters. So, for example, as many people know about Mercury, which is the planet of communication, that's in retrograde motion. That means it looks as if it's going backwards from the Earth. Then really all sorts of communication methods can be adversely affected, like email sent to all instead of just the sender, that sort of thing. This is the sort of way, I think, not just what the different planets are doing every day. This is how astrologers say this is going to happen today, Leo, for example, because they can say, yes, okay, Jupiter is present and that's going to bring you some luck, that sort of thing, very simply. But when the main thing is with astrology is that the date you were born, the time you were born, the place you were born, exactly places you somewhere within the heavens. So therefore, certain planets are present at the time of your birth. So certain signs, so when I say the planets, obviously each sign is ruled by a planet. So each sign, certain signs are present at the time of your birth. So you may have, Jupiter might be in the sign of Aries at the time you're born, for example. So that's how astrologers work out a person's innate being, but also how they think they can foretell what happens on the day on Sunday. Not so. I mean, nobody is the same of any sign. I think everybody's unique. We'll come on to that in a bit, Alice, and your questions. Sure. There's not the same thing going to happen to every Aries on the planet on the same day.
Yeah. Now,
you see what I mean?
Yeah. So with astrology, you have Chinese astrology and then you have Midwestern astrology. Can you kind of tell us what the main difference is between the two?
Looking at Western astrology, which most people are familiar with, signs change roughly each month, but not exactly on the 1st of and on the 30th, 31st of, but towards the end of one month and then towards the end of the next month. So it's over the period of a year, based on the constellations which appeared in the heavens when this system of astrology was devised well over 2,000 years ago by the ancient Babylonians. So each sign is ascribed one of 4 elements. So you've got fire, earth, air, and water. So each sign has its own element. So, for example, you may know, I'm sure most people know this. For example, Cancer is a water sign, Aries is a fire sign, and so on. So these elements apply to 2 signs each. So that's how Western astrology works. Is that each month the signs change. 12 signs, I should say. Whereas in Chinese astrology, of course, just to go back, Western astrology follows the sun, follows the solar year, whereas Chinese astrology follows the lunar year. And when I say Chinese astrology, I'm referring to many northeastern countries like Vietnam, for example, and Korea. They all adopt what we generally know of as Chinese astrology, because that's where it began. Now, Chinese astrology, well, it has signs of the zodiac, and they really are animal signs. Whereas our signs of the zodiac, we've got a centaur, we've got a set of scales. They're not all, because zodiac literally means animals, so it's not all animals. Whereas in Chinese, it's all animals, and real animals, apart from the dragon, of course not. Well, as far as I know. I'm always willing to be discreet because I've never never heard of anybody eating proper dragon's beast. So we've got Chinese New Year starting on a different day every year because it follows a lunar year. So we have to wait for the moon to complete its 12-month cycle till we start a new moon. Whenever that may be. So this year, for example, the new moon was on the 9th of February. Sorry, I was going to say January. No. It's either, so I'm getting myself in a twist. That's either towards the end of January and the end of February. So within that period, the Chinese year can start. So this year it started on the 9th of February, which is when we had the first full moon of the lunar year. So you've got 12 animals, starting from rats, ending with pig. The story went that when the Lord Buddha was ready to depart, he invited 12 animals, or he invited animals to come and see him off. And these 12 appeared, starting as a rat and ending with pig. So each Chinese year is represented by the animal. So if you were born so anybody born this year is going to be a wood dragon, because of year of the wood dragon. So there are 5 elements in Chinese astrology, and we all have the same as we had before: fire, earth, and water. Air is represented by metal. It's still got the same thing as the realm of ideas. And then you have an additional element of wood, which sort of acts as a nice little bridging point between all of them. So I hope that explains it somewhat.
Yes.
The characteristics that people are for every year rather than every month, so you can combine the two to get a composite picture.
Yes, and in your book, Aastrolations, you combine the Midwestern astrology with Chinese astrology to help with the compatibility in relationships, such with friends, family, romantic. How do you think that compares to just using Chinese astrology or Midwestern? Do you think it's better to combine them?
Well, I think it gives us a more complete picture of a person. Because if we, I only discovered Chinese astrology towards the end of the 1970s. And obviously it's been around a lot more. It's just these sort of things have become more well known. And people become very interested in it. And people do you can go on any website and say, yes, you were born in such a year, so therefore you were a monkey. They have to be very careful with those, because some of those sites, they say if you were born in such and such a year, 1956, for example, or 1968, you are a monkey. But it depends which date. If you're born any time between mid-January and mid-February, you can be really careful, because you could be in the previous Chinese year. Having said that, that's why I always say that to people. Don't just say, I've had so many arguments with people. No, but I am a rooster. No, you're not.
No.
I am. People don't like to be discreet. So going back to what you're saying, I think because we've got this interest in these methods of systems of astrology, then it makes sense to sort of combine them and say, well, look, you are for example, Scorpio, but you also are a rabbit. And those two combined, especially combined with their elements as well, can give you a composite, complete picture of the very uniqueness of the person you are. And then if you delve deeper and look at the individual elements of the signs and do the elements that you have clash with those of the other person, not necessarily just romantic partners, but everybody in our lives, then you can get a really, really clear picture of a person. So this is why I thought I'd do it. Obviously we've got 144 possible combinations, 12 from Western astrology, 12 from Chinese. So there's a lot
So
of different permutations out there, Alison. It can get a bit mind-blowing, you know. When I started writing the book, I was going into all sorts of detail. I thought, this is going to be about 1,000 pages long if I'm not careful, so I have to really chop it down. It's just, I find it so interesting, I just get carried away. So, yeah.
Now, how does your book differ from other astrology books?
Well, I think by what I've said is that pretty well any astrology book you get, it's going to be focusing probably in a lot more depth than mine, obviously, because there's so much to go into in Western astrology, especially. But they sort of focus on that, or it just focuses on Chinese astrology.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
And near the twain shall meet. Now, there are books. I know that some Chinese astrologers, especially, have touched on combining in a very slight way. You know, that there are also the solar signs as well as the lunar signs, the sun signs rather than the moon signs. But I wanted to just look at it as a complex whole, rather than saying, "Oh well, yeah, you're a monkey, therefore steer clear of a dragon because they don't get on." Well, they can. It depends on many other things. So, do you know what I mean? It's not as cut and dried as some astrology books say. And I think there is validity in concentrating just on one aspect or the other, because you can go into it in more depth. If somebody could go into a lot of depth in I versus astrology in a book, and so I'm not saying there's anything wrong in that. I'm just saying that it's nice to have a complete picture of a person. You know, we also have everybody's moon sign, which I'm sure you've heard of, moon sign, your rising sign in Western astrology, which many astrologers think are just as, if not more important than sun sign. So there we go. That's why. That's how I think our mind would be.
In your book, Aastrolations, you also give like a breakdown on the traits for grandparents, siblings, children, etc. How do you think this could help us to better understand our family and help us with our everyday relationships?
Right. Let's see. Okay. I'm looking at, because you gave me a good breakdown of my original questions, Alison, which was brilliant. I thought you really sort of picked interest. I'm looking at my different how I've looked at this one. I think there's two levels. On one level, it's interesting and fun. You know, I like to bring fun into astrology, to examine the signs of our own parents, our grandparents, siblings, children, friends, and colleagues, and see how these match what we feel we know about them. And then vice versa. You know, a parent can look at their child, a grandparent can look at their grandchildren. And just siblings can each look at each other and say, "Well, you think I wasn't so." Yeah, well, actually, yes, you were like that when you were kids, you know. So, I think it just makes people look at themselves and others a little bit more, in a bit more detail. I know it sounds very, sort of psychotherapy sort of thing. In fact, I was talking to a psychotherapist the other day, and there is a lot. Jung, the famous psychologist, he introduced astrology into psychoanalysis. But there is some similarity, it's a lot of understanding who we are ourselves. It helps you to deal with who you are, but also how other people are, and just to look a bit more carefully at why that person is how they are. Work terms, for example. I know a lot of us work from home now after, the 2020 lockdowns, etc. But when I was at work many years ago, I was a woman who I just cannot deal with this person. What is the matter with her? There's always somebody like that, isn't there?
Yeah.
What's wrong with this person? What have they got against me? Don't think about what's the problem with you. Because as long as you know yourself, and you think, well, okay, let's have a look. And I'm very, very good at finding out in a sort of very sort of surreptitious way what people, because people like talking about themselves. What day, when you're born, obviously finding out time of birth is a bit more tricky, but you somehow find out what that person thought. Oh, yes, this woman is okay. So this is why. So I need to find out a way of dealing with her that's going to sort of step around the problem she has got with me. Because this, so it can help. I think a lot of colleagues, because one person can make your life really pretty bad, can't it? In the workplace, if they make your life difficult, and it's the same with siblings. At each other's throats, and you think, well, okay, well, so we get this, don't we? But we can have some. With my sisters, I've got 4 sisters, and we're all of us yin, which really makes this quite harmonious on the whole. Whereas you can have yin, yang, and you think, oh, goodness, yang is generally very extrovert, yin is very introvert. So there are so many ways, that I think, we can achieve understanding. I know that psychiatrists would say, yes, we look at people's backgrounds and family background, but it all works together, I think. So I think we can gain deep understanding of ourselves and of others. So that's the one level. But as I say, the other level is, the influence on them, which I've spoken about, how that influences them and how we feel we can relate to people. And I think it's very important to look at relating to people in a beneficial way, rather than looking at combative stuff, which I think really better. I have to say this, Alison.
Yes.
I think we are. I can't say it's for mum. I think women are better at this than men. On the whole. On the whole.
Yeah.
So I hope that sounds so. Well, I'm just going to say, for an example here, a lively Aries monkey parent may have difficulty understanding their thoughtful and quiet Scorpio snake child and might become impatient with them. Why aren't they more like, this is my child, why aren't they more like me? Because of the Scorpios, they've got to have time to think and mull over things and get used to doing something. Whereas the Aries monkey parents go, right, we're doing this, this is that. And we've all known this happen, and it's just a way of achieving better understanding, especially with children. They have got characters. Obviously, they're young, they become adults, but they've got their own characters right from when they're born. And we all know this. That, babies have their own characters and so on. So, yeah, I think that's answered that a little bit, Alison, for you.
Yes, yeah. Now, what do you consider the most important factor when matching people up in relationships?
Okay, $1,000,000 question.
Yeah.
I know. And of course, everybody wants a soulmate, don't they? Everybody's looking for the soulmate. And there's so many factors involved when you're matching people up. So many. But I think the combination of which I've spoken before, yin and yang, to start with, or negative and positive. Yin and yang of the Chinese side. So starting with the sign of rat, which is yang, and then they go to the sign of ox, which is yin, and then it carries on like that, trying to yang, and then you've got rabbit yin. So they alternate, so we end up with pig, which is a yin sign. So for example, if you were with somebody or negative or positive, by the way. Negative is the same with the Western signs. So, for example, Aries is positive, Taurus is negative, and it carries on. And, making sure people realise that negative and positive don't have the values that we often attribute to them. It just simply means that negative is more thoughtful, and positive is more go-getting. So there's that, and then find out how the balance of elements. I think balance of elements is really important. So what I'm going to do is give an example. I've got a Gemini Earth sheep with a Cancer fire dog, and I'm saying that could work because we've got positive Gemini with negative Cancer, there's yin sheep with yang dog. Also, there's Earth fire. You've got the fire dog, metal, because dog has metal as its innate sign. We've got air, so Gemini is air, and water that we've got with Cancer. So instantly you've got all the elements there, apart from wood. It's very difficult to find wood in people's sign. Because that's just purely Chinese, I think. So all straight away, and I think that sheep and dog do go together well. And it sounds like sheepdog, but they do actually go. Sheep is yin and dog is yang, and they've got similar characteristics. They understand each other. So I think earth and fire go quite well together because although earth could absorb fire can scorch earth, but we can still contain fire within earth. And Gemini and Cancer go quite well together as they can understand each other. So I'm saying that the main thing is the elements could provide the balance. So that's why I look, at the complex characteristics there. But there's also your moon sign, so the Gemini Earth sheep might have.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
A Scorpio moon, the Cancer fire dog might have an Aries moon. That would cause problems. So you see, there are many, many things. You can't just say they'll go all right. There's so many things can influence. So I think I think often you sort of recognise somebody in a very what's the word I'm looking for? Something deep within you resonates with somebody that you meet for the first time. You think, this person maybe I could make a go with. So you find out a little more about them, and you might find something that don't really work, but that you can live with. There's a lot of compromises in there with relationships. Or you might think, no, that's something, they're such and such, I just can't live with that aspect of their character. So, there are many ways of finding out, I think, whether you can be compassionate, whether you can be compatible or not. And the more you find out about somebody astrologically, the more you realise that, those are some trigger points in a relationship, but on the whole, it goes, it matches up. So this is so there are many. The answer is really there are many factors involved, Alison.
All right.
Okay.
So, what do you hope that your readers take away from reading Aastrolations?
Well, I think that people hopefully will either discover astrology, people that are completely new to astrology, and then some reviewers have said this, that it's a good reference book, and I'm hoping it'll be a good reference book for people, or a book of discovery. So that's one thing. People that don't know anything about astrology, or some people may be completely new to Chinese astrology, so they can find out a lot, because I do go into a lot of detail about how each of these systems work in my book, and the description of the characters. So there, I think there's a lot more that people can take away than they might think. There is probably the face value. Okay, let's have a look how this compatible. Let's see what grandpa's like. Let's see what aunt so and so. What theirs is. It can become like a nice little entertainment thing. And I know that people will be entertained. This is the other thing, but I think there's the joy of discovering astrology, and that's what I hope people will take away. And obviously more full of self-knowledge, I think, as well, and the knowledge of others and understanding. I'm really keen on good relationships and understanding people more fully. And this is what I think we'll take away from it as well.
Now, sorry, I just got a whiff of my candle, but my candle is not lit. Like, it smelled like it just got lit in my room, and it just threw me by surprise.
Oh my goodness! There's some vibe going on there.
Yeah. And it is an Aries candle. We're talking about kind of different there. Now you did. Now you did do. I give you my information.
Yeah. And
what did you?
You gave me information about your birth date and time of birth.
Yes.
Place of birth. And isn't it interesting to, I mean, I'll just say, Alison, there's a lot to go into with any reading like this. But I will also send it to you on an email attachment. And I've got some extra planets put in there as well, because I'm not sure how much time we'd have to go through this. Oh, yeah. So let's so I've got astrological profile for Alison Robinson.
Yeah.
Your Western zodiac sign is Aries, which I'm sure you know. And I'm going to say what the elements are as well as fire. But this is I'm going to say this. It's your sun sign, your proper sun sign is Pisces. The reason for this, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because some people are going to think, I tell them thinking, it's just too much to think about. I mean, I don't know if you don't know anything about this, but there's a thing called precession, where in the last 2,000 years, the Earth wobbles on its axis. It doesn't just sort of go round a nice circle. So the original constellations that were named at certain months have moved quite a lot over that period of time. So therefore, although you are Aries zodiac sign and you will have those particular attributes and many attributes of Aries, you also, the sun rose in sign of Pisces when you were born, which is the sign before, which is water. And this is interesting, Alison, because this figures with the Chinese sign you are. So Pisces goes from the 11th of March to the 17th of April. So the date you gave me you actually on the sun sign of Pisces. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah.
You've got dual influences, okay? Just makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
Some people do answer completely, true Aries, for example, depends on your born. Now, your Chinese zodiac sign is water pig. Now, that's interesting, isn't it? Because the native, each Chinese sign has its own native element. And the native element of pig is, guess what, water. So you've got all that water in your Chinese sign. And I must say, I like the sign of pig. Some of my best friends are pigs, so it's a lovely sign. Chinese ascendant, so you've got two waters there. You've got Chinese ascendant now the Chinese ascendant is again the time you were born. They go within 2-hour intervals. So your Chinese ascendant is the rooster, and the native element of rooster is metal. So you've got all those straight off. You've also got your moon in Aquarius, so that's where the moon was when you were born. That's an air sign. Your rising sign is Libra, which is an air sign, and this is the sign that was on the eastern horizon at the time of your birth. You've got Venus in Taurus, which is Earth. You've got Mercury in Aries, which is fire. You've got Mars in Taurus, Earth. So straight away, you've got loads of different elements there, haven't you?
Yeah.
Well, do you feel that?
Yeah.
Did you know any of them? Yeah. I suppose you need some of those. I know you had another Chinese astrologer on who told you about your Chinese sign, but just looking at your main influences, then your zodiac sign of Aries gives you a commanding presence, being purposeful with an energetic walk, and Aries often have red or auburn hair. Yeah. They enjoy sports, I'm just saying this is a general thing because there are many sports. Your true sun sign of Pisces means that you're very imaginative, sometimes given to illusions. You're often creative and gently spoken, but often feel called in 2 directions in life. And also the sun sign of Pisces does make you sort of quite tuned in to inner lives as well, which is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your Chinese animal sign of water pig means you have double the attributes of water, being a peaceful, sometimes introspective, and often very intuitive pig. And pigs are the friendliest of all the Chinese signs and love to help others to help enjoy themselves. You probably like to throw a party, but you like to see everybody enjoying the party as well. Water pigs, though, can be easily led, so be careful who you trust. But your rooster ascendant, because the ascendant sign is like your little shadow, your alter ego, comes through life with you. So your rooster ascendant makes you well organised and more practical than the average pig, because pigs can be a little bit sloppy, with an insightful character. And you've got common sense. So you're not going to be duped by people, as some water pigs are. And I can think you are well organised, with the way you sort of organised your talk with me and so on. It seems very practical and organised to me. So because I don't know, I'm just going by what your signs are.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
So balance of elements, Alison, you've got a healthy balance of elements. You've got 3 in water, 2 in fire, 3 in air/metal, because air in Western and metal in Chinese are very, very similar in their traits, and 2 in earth. So that's pretty good, isn't it? The only one you're lacking is the Chinese element of wood, but not many people have that. So your Chinese side water pig gives you double water as a native element. So you've got extra qualities of intuition, psychic abilities, and kindness. Interesting, isn't it? Because the pig, anything water, anything water is very intuitive or creative. So your other planets, Moon in Aquarius. Sorry, I'm not going to go on for too long.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine.
Your Moon in Aquarius, and now I love it that you've got loads of these fantastic air signs, Alison, and that sort of chimes in with what you do. I think your Moon in Aquarius means you're humanitarian now, you're original in thought and with interest in many areas. Your rising sign Libra means you've got a charming persona, which you seem to have, know how to put people at their ease, and you can be rather indecisive, but people like your easygoing nature.
That's right.
So,
On the money.
yeah, does that sound good?
Yeah, it's exactly
Lever's
right.
a charming side, very sort of tries to keep some oil over troubled water sort of thing. And then your Venus, I mean, obviously everybody knows what Venus stands for, your the sort of love, the way you appreciate beauty and so on. Venus in Taurus means you are sensuous, because Taurus is a very sensitive sign, and possibly artistic, and possibly sing. Do you sing?
Do I sing?
Do you
No,
sing?
I do not anymore. No, I used to be in choir back in school, but then yeah, not anymore.
Because you've got quite a strong voice, yeah. Taurus often does have quite a strong voice, and they often do sing, but you're not fully Taurus. It's just your Venus. So you like nice things, okay. You like to be in pleasant surroundings, and you enjoy being in nature. You can be stubborn in love, not listening fully to your partner. I don't know. Taurus is stuff like that. And then I'm just going through Mercury and Mars. So your Mars in Aries, so Mercury is the part of communication. In Aries means you're quick in your actions, direct in your communication style. You enjoy discussions, but also you enjoy a good argument. I don't mean it in a raw way. I mean discussing things, but it's also arguing. You can be self-willed. Well, that's true, but I think self-willed in the way you communicate. So this is what I believe. So that's it. Your Mars in got. Sorry,
I said I can be that way sometimes.
You can be, yeah. Well, if anything's got, I've got planets in Leo, and it's just the same all fire signs. It's like, right, this is what is it? Then you've got them without listening fully to other people. Mars in Taurus, you've got another Taurus here, means you are slow to anger, but can be a little like a pressure cooker. So, you don't think, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to react, and then suddenly, I don't think that's good. You dislike unpleasantness in your love life and try to keep things sweet. And you're also quite a sensual person, because Mars is to do with the passions. It's the side of passion and anger and so on. So those are the main signs. There are lots of all the other planets as well, which I will explain more about when I send you the whole chart. Yeah. Is that? I hope that gave. I mean, it's quite thorough. It's quite thorough, and there's a lot.
Yes, that does a lot, and it has. I can only imagine the amount of work it goes into figuring all this out. Honestly,
I have to say, Alison, thank goodness for the internet, because because I know how to say, for example, Jupiter, influences people. I know what effect Mars has and so on. But to find out exactly what they used in the old days, they had massive charts on their tables. And now there are some fantastic sites. Aastrolations is my favourite. Go for moon sign calculator, rising sign calculator. You can just put in your dates and time of birth and place of birth, and it will come up with, yes, your Mars is in Scorpio, etc. But it's up to you to interpret what that means. Well, they do give interpretations, but I think it's for an astrologer, you want to do it yourself. But it's rather than going over books, and that's the one. It makes it so easy for an astrologer. So I can do people's charts very quickly.
Very nice.
So, very quickly. So it takes a bit of time.
Yeah.
It's not just like that. But I try to think, I don't know you, whether any of that resonates with you, Alison, and anybody you are, acquainted with. So there we go. I think I love it that you've got, you've got lots of air signs, and I think that's great in a person, because I think very open-minded makes them open-minded, and accepting and tolerant. So that's good. And yeah, and as I say, all the watering your sign, does increase your intuition. Yeah,
Yep.
so that's good. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's um I had one I had one done a few years ago. We had a gal on, but I couldn't remember everything that she had said. So, yes, what you said does resonate with me quite a bit. So, kind of right on the head there. Um, now with
Ringing some bells. Yeah.
yeah. Now with your book, Astrolations, where can our listeners find your book? Where can they purchase it?
Right. Well, um, I mean, obviously, people can um, go on to online retailers, like Amazon, Barnes and Noble,
Mm-hmm.
um, IndieBound. The publishers are O Books, so it's got their website.
Mm-hmm.
So the book is now out.
Mm-hmm.
It was published last Friday. Well, I don't know when this is going to air, but I know can take some time. But the book is published already, and you know, it's a big book, Alison, and I would hope that people enjoy it both as a reference book and as
Mm-hmm.
something to give entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it can be purchased from, and obviously, hopefully, bookstore near you.
Oh, I'm sure we can find it around here because we do
Yeah.
have, there's a Barnes and Noble not too far, about an hour away. So anybody could go there to find that. Um, and I'm sure if you just Google the book, it's going to come up with a bunch of places where they can purchase your book. Now, do you teach any classes on astrology? Do you do anything like that?
Well, actually, no, I don't. Um, what I wanted to say to people was that there are many groups of astrologers that gather together to discuss astrology and so on. I think if you just went on to Google astrology groups near me, um, and a lot of them have guest speakers or
Mm-hmm.
certain events where so and so is going to show us or talk to us about a certain aspect of astrology. So
Mm-hmm.
you can find out a lot about it. And also, some people that run these astrology groups are very, very well versed in all aspects. So
Mm-hmm.
find a, find a group, join it, and you meet like-minded people as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
All right. Now,
so that's what I was.
do you have any other books in the works?
Um, well, I'm developing one, Alison, but
Okay.
I've got no working title yet. It is to do with astrology, but I can't really say any more
Sure. Yeah, that's
at
okay.
this.
No worries. Now, if anybody has any questions for you, how can they reach out to you? Do you have social media, website that they can go to, or?
Okay, so I've got a website. So that's
Mhm.
www.astrolations.co.uk. And that's my website. And I give predictions for each sign, both Chinese and Western, for the year. So everybody's got their prediction for the year. I go into explanation about terminology, about ascendants, about the characteristics of each zodiac sign. So a lot of information on there, I hope. So that and there's a contact page, so if people wanted to email me, they could do a contact page. And then I've also got an Aastrolations Facebook page
Okay.
that people can follow. It's a public Facebook page. So that's all I do in terms of social media. I'm
All
afraid.
right. That's okay.
uh,
No worries. Um, so that way, if anybody, there are ways that they can contact you, and we'll share them on our social media as well. But I'd like to thank you for being a guest, Jill. It was a pleasure talking to you, getting a little more in depth on astrology. And for our listeners, please go check out her new book, Aastrolations. You can find it. Just Google it. You'll find it on probably any bookstore, Amazon, you name it. You'll probably find it and be able to purchase it. It is a good read, so I do highly recommend it. And thank you again, and thank you for taking time to do a chart for me. It was very insightful, so I do appreciate that. And
It was absolutely fabulous.
what was that?
Yeah. So it was a pleasure to have done your chart. I quite enjoy, seeing what comes out.
Oh yeah, it's very interesting to hear. So I do thank you for doing that. And I'd just like to thank all of our listeners for joining us. And peace out, everybody. Until next time.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.